Greetings everybody, I am BrianD0313 and I'll be doing a review of what I consider to be my favorite video game series of all time. Now this was a tough one because there are so many great video game series out there to begin with. What is my favorite video game series, you might ask? Well, the answer is simple. My favorite video game series is either known to you people as Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is a traditional medieval fantasy Japanese role-playing game, also known as a JRPG. I've always been a major fan of the Dragon Quest series, because I really enjoy the medieval fantasy with the castles, armor, and swords, and magic. As a kid, I always drew pictures based off of Dragon Quest, and I also created many fantasy stories as well. I do consider myself to be one of the series' biggest fans, probably even more of a fan than Kenshin 1930, though he'd probably say otherwise. Let's see. I have created several Excel equipment guides for most of the Dragon Quest games. Let's see. I've done it for 3. Haven't done it for 4 yet. Need to fix that one. 5 and 6. Oh, and 9. 9's very comprehensive. The guides they recommend equipment for each character, what they should buy, what they should trade, in order to keep costs down. So if you're interested in them, then check out the video description, as I'll probably have links to the guides below. Hopefully. Now, why is Dragon Quest my favorite video game series? Well, I mentioned I'm a fan of medieval fantasy, but there's more to the games than just that. The stories, the plots, the characters, and balance also contribute to making the series great. The Dragon Quest franchise is broken up into different segments. There are many side quest series based off of Dragon Quest and characters from Dragon Quest, such as monsters, toons, thing, and all sorts of stuff. Then there's the main series, which includes 10 games, 9 of which are available to the United States. All the games of the main series are very good, each being separate from each other by fractions of a point. This review will be based on those 9 games, and what I do is I rank and divide the 9 games into 3 tiers. Tier 3 includes the Dragon Quest games that I am least fond of and probably most likely will not play again. Tier 2 includes the games that I like but may or may not replay them, or might just take a little time before I replay them. And then Tier 1 includes the best of the best in the series. They are all so closely scored that I think the top 2 games are separated by like a millionth of a point. So we'll be starting at Tier 3 and moving our way up to the best game in the series. Okay, people, so to start out, my least favorite game in the series, and I believe many people would mutually agree with me on this one, is Dragon Quest IX for the Nintendo DS. This game had many innovative ideas, but fell short in many aspects. First off, unlike all other Dragon Quest games, minus Dragon Quest 1 and 3, this game only has one playable character, which is our hero. Well, I don't mean one playable character, but one character with personality. Now we can recruit other characters, but these characters are just mindless mercenaries. They lack personality and are just here to support our main character. Why couldn't the developers put in real companions that we would meet up with and join the party? Next fall in the game is the class system, which is a mess up hybrid of Dragon Quest 3, Dragon Quest 6 and 7, and Dragon Quest 6 and 7's class system, and Dragon Quest 8's leveling system. Dragon Quest 3 started the class system and was later sort of improved upon in 6 and 7. And let's see. The way Dragon Quest 3's class system works is every time you change a character's class, the character retains all spells learned, but their level is dropped to 1 and their stats are halved. Now, when you class change in Dragon Quest 9, your level is dropped to 1, and you start with level 1 base stats. In addition, you do not retain the spells you learn, but you do retain the abilities. Now, if you were to class change back to the previous class that you were, then you retain the levels, and stats, and magic you learned from that class. So, in essence, each character's class is independent which I think is just plain stupid. Pretty much, like, hey, class change someone else is pretty much just get a new character. The only benefit is that the abilities just carry over, of course. So, what I think they should have done is they should have just dropped the level to 1 and had the stats, just like in Dragon Quest 3. Now, 6 and 7 had the same class system as each other. The character does not drop to level 1 on class change, but their stats are modified based on each class. All spells are retained between classes, which could sort of be abused and overpowering. There are also three tiers of classes a player needs to three tiers of classes. A player needs to master 2 specific classes in order to train tier 2 classes, which are hybrids of 2 starter classes the character mastered. I like the idea of the hybrid classes, but why couldn't Dragon Quest IX do the same thing? There are no hybrid classes in Dragon Quest IX. Everything's just independent. Finally, Dragon Quest IX uses a leveling system similar to Dragon Quest VIII, where every time a character levels up, they can invest points into specific categories to class, which allows the character to learn special abilities after investing a certain amount of points into the category. The idea is nice. It was nice in Dragon Quest VIII, but it's hard to maximize the system for a character because each class has some recurrent categories, while other ones are class specific. And let's see what's the next problem with the game is the alchemy system, which comes from Dragon Quest VIII as well. In Dragon Quest VIII, you can add certain types of items to a pot, the alchemy pot, wait 7 minutes, and then a new, usually better item is crafted. The problem with Dragon Quest IX's alchemy system is that it's just too complex. Instead of requiring 3 items, the player needs multiples of each item to create an alchemy recipe. Let's see. Never mind. Sorry. So like 1, 2, 3, probably about maybe 8 items just to craft something. So farming for the items could be a hassle. So what I think is the developer should have just kept it simple like Dragon Quest VIII, kept everything simple like the previous games. Next, we will talk about the equipment. The standard Dragon Quest equipment setup has always been weapon, shield, helmet, armor, and relic, or accessory. I just call it relic. But in Dragon Quest IX takes it a whole new level, adding gloves, pants, shoes, and probably a lot of other stuff. Now, I like the idea, but it just becomes a cost problem. Finally, we will talk about the grottos. Now, I've never been to the grottos or been in the game, but from what I have seen in Kenshin's videos, the grottos are quite pointless, and you don't really get rewarded like you'd expect. So, in my opinion, as I said, I didn't beat the game, which means I wasn't that interested in it. I'm very disappointed. Now, here, Dragon Quest X is supposed to be an MMORPG, so I hate MMORPGs, so I'm kind of worried about that. And it's for the Wii. Why couldn't they put it on like a good console like the PlayStation? So that's it for Dragon Quest IX. Probably will. Actually, I kind of want to play again or just finish it, but not anytime soon. Okay, people, so that was my rant about Dragon Quest IX. Many good ideas, but poorly executed. The next good game in the Tier 3 is Dragon Quest VII for the PlayStation 1. Now, from what I heard, this game was the most popular PlayStation game. The game is good, better than 9, but there are things I wasn't too fond of. This is actually quite interesting, different game compared to most other Dragon Quest games. We started out with a solo island. There are no other islands in the world. Weird, right? And there's also no enemies as well. Eventually, we go through some ruins and come out the other side on a new island, where there are monsters. We complete the main quest on the island and travel back to the portal. We now see on our map that that island has appeared. We then travel over and find out that we were originally there in the past, and we unsealed the island. So this is pretty much how the game, pretty much the gimmick of the game. We go back in time, we fix an island, and then we visit again in the future. A lot of backtracking in the game, pretty much. The game also, there's a lot of backtracking in the game, which might be good, might be bad, might get old. The game also has a class system where you can change classes at any time and not be reduced to level 1. The character stats are modified based on each class stats. To balance each class stats out. All spells are retained from class to class. Equipment is so this could be very overpowering, as I said. Equipment is based on the character and not the class, like in Dragon Quest IX. Classes are mastered by fighting a certain amount of battles. Now, you can't expect to fight blue slimes and power class up. No, you have to fight enemies relative to your level. This could be a pain in the ass for people who've been over leveling, but I like the concept. Once mastered, a character can switch to another class, or they can just stay the same class. Once a character masters two classes, they may be able to learn a hybrid class, which is sort of a combination between the two classes. Characters do not learn spells based on their levels. They actually learn the spells every time they level up in a class. As I said, I really do like the class system. This is 6 and 7 have the same class system, but as I said, it can be abused and overpowered. Now, for what I don't like, first the game starts out very slow. Probably takes about an hour before a player sees any action. A player may need to grind early on just to have some gold to buy items. There's also a lot of backtracking in the game, which could be a bit tedious. Some people may not like revisiting the same area twice. They just want to move on and maybe revisit areas only a couple times. The game is very long, which could be good or bad. At least you're getting your money's worth. We have characters with personality, but the problem is some of your main party members leave you midway through the game and may or may not come back. So you grow attached to a character and now, hey, they are gone, with your equipment as well. Thieves. The game does have some fun mini games, such as a fashion show, building a new city, catching monsters, and I don't know if they had the board game or not. I kind of forgot. Overall, I probably would replay the game, but not anytime soon. It's decent. Okay, people. Next, we move to the bottom of Tier 2, and I try to call this like Tier 2.5 because it's just in between 2 and 3. These are games that are okay and that I may actually consider replaying. First off is the game that started it all, Dragon Warrior 1 for the NES. This game was a flagship to modern role-playing games, and it actually did come out before Final Fantasy. Now this game is simple. We take control of a single character, we acquire equipment to make the character move, to make the character more versatile, we level up to be able to handle enemies more easily, we learn spells, we explore the world looking for clues and treasures to progress us through the game. Now the game has many flaws, but I don't really take them into account because this was the first game in the series. They're bound to make mistakes to begin with, right? And, oh yeah, there were bound to be some things that didn't work out or make sense. That is why you make a second game, which improves upon the first game. But we all know what happens when you make a second game. We always get some sort of crazy black sheep. So the first problem with the game is the menu. There are just too many unnecessary commands, such as search and take. Now, all the other games actually merge the two commands into one. The other two unnecessary commands are the door command, which allows you to open a door, and stairs, which allows you to use the stairs. Now, the door command was actually removed in 2 and 3, but this made things the door command was removed in 2 and 3, but this made things worse. Now the player had to go into the inventory to use the key on the door. The door command in Final Fantasy, the door command actually returned for Dragon Warrior 4, and then for 5 and above, the door command was actually removed, and now we could open doors just by walking into them. So much easier, much more efficient, and Final Fantasy 1 was actually doing this in the very first game. Now the stairs command was also dumb, and luckily it never returned in the sequels. Because who wants to waste time always going to the menu, just clicking on these things? Another problem with the game is content. The game involves about 10% story and 90% of just grinding. This is probably an artificial attempt to make the game longer. Luckily, grinding times get reduced for each sequel to the point where you don't really need to grind anymore. Like, hey, you just play through the game. There are also some interesting quirks about the game. For instance, your stat growth is based on the letter configuration in your character's name. Quite interesting, but we don't see this in the future Dragon Quest games. Each battle is a one-on-one battle, most likely to keep things balanced and not being overpowered by an army of monsters. Every single door in the game is locked. Why? Just people feel insecure. In order to open a door, you need to buy a one-time use key. Sounds easy, right? Well, it is. Well, it isn't when the two key shops are so far away from your base. In addition, you could only save at the starting castle, so by the time you reach one of these key towns, you are most likely tired of the game and want to save and quit. Unfortunately, you have to transport all the way back to the start in order to actually quit. Kind of annoying. And also involving using the like the return spell and the Winter the Wyvern, they also only return you back to the starting castle. You can't just warp to all the other towns you already visited. The inventory for Dragon Warrior 1 through 4 is also interesting and very strategic. What I mean is, we only have a limited amount of space to carry supplies, so when adventuring and caving, you have to be smart about what you bring. How many keys, herbs, torches should I carry? Also keep in mind your equipment takes up a slot in the inventory, and items do not stack. So that's about it for Dragon Warrior 1. Without this game, we will never have this amazing series. Now, if I will play again, probably not. Okay, people, next up in the list is the self-proclaimed black sheep of the series, and of course we all know which game in the series is a black sheep, and it will be Dragon Warrior 2. And, you people know what I'm talking about, right? Now, you people might be wondering why I ranked this game above 1, 7, and 9. The reason is because this is the second game in the series, so there are bound to be flaws in it, just like there are flaws in Dragon Warrior 1. Of course, the game is an improvement from the first game, and that is why Dragon Warrior 2 is ranked higher than 1. Dragon Warrior 2 is a direct sequel to the first game. The heroes in the game are descendants from the hero in the first game. Now I use a plural heroes because this game incorporates companions, which made the game more versatile. The main hero is pretty much a soldier and does not learn any magic, unlike in the first game. The second character is regarded as a pilgrim who could wear medium and heavy armor and weapons, but isn't as strong as the hero. This character does learn some magic, though. Our final character is a female, and she is the mage of the group. She doesn't really get much equipment options, and she has really horrible physical attacks and defense. That is why we use her for magical attacks. So since we have more characters, it is safe to know that the amount of enemies in an encounter has also increased. The game is longer and the world is bigger compared to the first game. The game also incorporates a new mechanic of being able to sail the seas. One of the islands is actually a smaller version of the world from the first game. Additionally, the legendary equipment from the first game is also in this game as well, and can be acquired relatively early in the game, and they are pretty much the best equipment for the main hero. Sort of unbalanced in my opinion, but the rest of the game is definitely very unbalanced. Not on our way, it's unbalanced on the enemy way. The menu has been dumbed down from the first game for better and for worse. The search and take commands have been combined, and both door and stair commands have been removed. I wish the door command would have stayed, because going for the key in the inventory can be a bit tedious, especially when there's like no auto sort in the inventory. So you have to pretty much swap around items, trade items around just to get to the top to make it a little bit easier to use. The key system is also different. Now there are 3 types of keys which are independent of each other. These keys unlock specific types of doors, and they are not one-time use keys anymore. This is a very good idea, but unfortunately in this game we could get all 3 keys very early. And these 3 keys actually become a staple of Dragon Warrior games pretty much for the rest of the series. The inventory system is still the same and limited as the first game. As for saving the game, there are now more places we can save the game. Be warned though, Winter the Wyverns and the return spell only returns you to the last place you saved. I learned this the hard way as a kid when I took a teleporter back from the last refuge, saved and couldn't return to the last refuge. You know what a pain in the ass that was. And I actually do believe that save file still exists on the cartridge. let's see. This is the only Dragon Quest game that I've actually never beaten. I think I mentioned that, right? Now, the plot of the game involves us searching the world for 5 crests. Sounds easy, right? Wrong! Some of the crests are so cryptically hidden that you need a Nintendo Power to find them, like the Fire Crest, I believe. Like, who would expect to search outside that fire temple? Another problem with the game is the balance issues. Some areas might be too difficult, even if you think you've overleveled. The next most notable bad part of the game is the Road to Rome, probably the most difficult dungeon in all the series. This dungeon might even be more difficult than the dreaded Ice Cave in Final Fantasy. This dungeon is a beast because it is long, very maze-like, has pitfalls, and the enemies are some of the hardest in the game. The final and most notable problem with this dungeon is the Lost Woods type floor. This floor is so cryptic that you can find yourself spinning for a long time, forever, trying to find the way out. There is a right way and a wrong way to go. If you go the wrong way, you get sent back close to the beginning. Unfortunately, we can never tell when we've taken the wrong path. Now you may think that oh, what am I saying here? So now you think that might be it for the hard part. But once you escape the road, so you might think that escaping from the road to Rome is pretty much the end of the hard part. Well, you are wrong once again. The path to the last refuge contains monsters with instant death spells that are quite accurate. You may find the time that you spent getting to the final area was all for nothing when you end up being KO'd by instant death spells. The final problem with the game is the final boss. I never made it to the final boss, but from what I've seen, this boss is tough and will destroy you if you're not at the proper levels. So for this game, probably, actually I should play again just to beat it. I actually have several thousand save files for this game. I just don't want to beat it. Next up is the final game in Tier 2, ranking it at number 5, and the game is Dragon Quest VI for the Super Nintendo, which was never released in the United States until much later on the Nintendo DS. This game uses unique game mechanics from the other Dragon Quest series, sort of like the unique mechanics of Dragon Warrior VII, but not as annoying. The gimmick of the game is that there are 2 overworlds acting as parallel dimensions. To be more accurate, one of them is a dream world or spirit world, while the other one is a real world. What has happened is the major bosses of the game have either destroyed or sealed off different areas of the world. We can see this in the dream world because there are all these huge holes on the overworld. Killing the boss actually restores these areas to the map. There's also an underwater area and a dark world area to visit. It could be quite interesting to explore everywhere. The graphics and sprites are quite different in my opinion. They aren't medieval, but instead the game appears to look more like a Secret of Mana or Illusions of Gaia game. No big deal, of course. The graphics are definitely pretty good in my opinion. Well, the graphics in general, not the sprites and stuff, are very good. The game has the same exact class system as Dragon Warrior VII, so we're not going to talk about that. I believe this game has the most modes of transportation of all the Dragon Quest games. Maybe too many for their own good. Like I think they have two types of flying modes of transportation. It's kind of stupid. As for characters, you start out with a hero and eventually end up with 5 characters by the end of the first major boss. After that, we can go pick up an optional character. Later on down the line, we get another character, which is kind of a throwaway to the other 6 characters, because we get this character so late in the game that it's sort of useless. We can also recruit 7 different monsters. I forgot if I used them or not in my last playthrough, so I forgot how effective they are. Overall, the characters are quite useful and have a lot of backstory and personality to them. They are much more complete compared to Dragon Quest IX, of course. Also, the characters never leave us, which is another good sign. The game starts out quite well. We start out in the dream world unknown to us. When we travel to the real world by accident for the first time, we find ourselves invisible to the people. Our first quest is to make it so the people down there can actually see us. After that, our next quest is to kill the first major boss, which we actually see during the intro of the game. I actually would have thought that this was the final boss. The game is quite linear to this point, and I gotta say the boss is tough to beat on low level runs. I think I might have actually had to level up, grind up a bit to defeat him. Keep in mind this is before we could do class changes. Killing the boss actually allows us to restore Dharma Shrine, the place to class change. This is where I have a problem with the game, and it is not Dharma Shrine, of course. The problem is there is no direction after restoring the shrine. No one really talks about where we should head next, and that sort of applies to the rest of the game. Like, who else is there to fight? Who else is the main antagonist? Of course, finding out where it goes should be a challenge for us, but some clues would have been nice. The game also has some interesting side quest type stuff. I believe there is a board game we could play, a slime arena, and a fashion show. Now the fashion show is actually mandatory to unlock a key item, but it's not too difficult to do with the right equipment. Overall, the game is quite good, but I may find myself resistant playing the game anytime soon. Then again, I do need to play through it one more time to finalize my equipment spreadsheet. So we are finally done with Tier 2, and now we are on to the final 4, which are regarded as the best of the best in the series. The first game ranking at number 4 is Dragon Warrior 3 for the NES. Dragon Warrior 3 is the final part of the Eardrip trilogy, and the game throws us a very surprising plot twist. Then again, if you had the manual, then the plot twist might not have been as surprising as you would have originally expected. The overworld and the game length are much longer compared to Dragon Warrior 2, and it's the first to feature an underworld. The game also improves upon the flaws from Dragon Warrior 2. The game has the same menu as Dragon Warrior 2, still lacking the door command, of course. The three keys are back, but there is something different about them this time. Instead of being independent of each other, each new key is able to unlock the same door as the key beforehand. This cuts down on having to carry all 3 keys at once. The inventory is still the same with limited space. The ships have become a staple of the Dragon Quest series, but we also get to fly as well later in the game, of course. And flying isn't really used much except as a plot device to get us to the final areas in the game. Dragon Warrior 3 also went in a completely different path with characters compared to Dragon Warrior 2 and later games, minus Dragon Quest IX, of course. Dragon Warrior 3 only has one main character. We can recruit more characters to help us out. These characters contribute nothing to the plot, just like Dragon Quest IX. Luckily, this is not an issue because this is still an experimental stage for the series, and it actually works out for the series. 9 fails because by the time we get to 9, 9 should have the game should always have companions that contribute to the plot, have backstories and quests to gain closure. Instead, the developers were too lazy to do that for 9. But back to Dragon Warrior 3. When recruiting characters, we choose what classes we want them to be. This adds replay value because players can experiment with different setups. I myself prefer the Soldier, Fighter, and Pilgrim setup. At level 20, we can class change these characters to anything we want. When we class change, their levels are reduced to 1, and their stats are halved to prevent overpowering. You can class change as many times as you want every time you reach level 20, but keep in mind, this is both unnecessary and can be bad for the characters. There is also a secret class called the Sage, which is the hybrid of the Wizard and the Pilgrim. In order to become a Sage, you need to find a quest item, and I believe it's a one-time use only item, so you can only turn someone into a Sage once, or you can only turn one person into a Sage. Unfortunately, our hero can never change their class, but they're pretty balanced in my opinion. what I usually do is I actually change my soldier into a fighter, and the fighter into a soldier, and the pilgrim into a sage. This becomes a very devastating team because we have soldier fighter hybrids throughout the entire game. So we have we have a unit with that packs a punch of a soldier with the equipment of a soldier, but has the speed of a fighter. One other improvement in this game is the return system. Unlike the last game where where the return spell only took you back to the last place you saved, this game lets you return to any town you have already visited. Some people may say this game is easy, and it is compared to Dragon Warrior 2, but it still can be challenging. The game has a lot of plot and quests for an NES game, and of course there is a plot twist which sort of becomes a recurrent theme for later Dragon Quest games. I don't really think there is anything bad to say about the game other than the lack of the door command, lack of characters with personality, and the inventory, but those are just minor, of course. This truly is a great game with replay value. Next up at number 3 is Dragon Warrior IV, the final game for the NES. For the longest time until maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I thought this was the final game in the Dragon Warrior series. This is because of the name change to Dragon Quest and because 5 and 6 were never released in the United States until the Nintendo DS. For the longest time, this was my favorite game. This is actually the first game in the Zenithian trilogy, which I wouldn't say is as memorable as the Airtrip trilogy, but nevertheless the game still packs quality. This game is quite different compared to the previous games, but that is all for good. This game introduces a chapter system. There are 4 minor chapters introducing the companions and their backstories, and then there is a 5th chapter where we actually take control of the hero of the game and unite with the other companions. A very interesting mechanic that works. It is a very interesting mechanic that works well, but has not been used in future Dragon Quest games. All the minor chapters are relatively short, and each chapter has their own minor plot to them. Another interesting part about the minor chapters is that they introduce foreshadowing into the final chapter. From what I hear, the game is even longer than Dragon Warrior 3. The menu system is slightly revamped, and guess what? The door command is finally back. Hooray! Keys are the same as Dragon Warrior 3. There are now a total of 8 main characters in the game, including the hero. There is no class system, but instead each character has their own unique class. Like Elena is a fighter, Ragnar's a fighter. We have mages. We have Tulun the merchant, etc., etc. Throughout the game, the characters will encounter temporary party members that will join the group for a short time. Now there is a problem with the characters in the NES version in Chapter 5. All the companions are controlled by the AI, which becomes annoying and a liability at times. Like, you have Kristoff always casting instant death spells on bosses. Like, what the hell, man? Luckily, this is they fixed this in the DS version, and this might have been the reason why I could have never passed the Esther battle. Like, for the longest time, I could not get through that Actimo Mines. Of course, I didn't really know that there was like a heal spot right nearby. Now, the DS version isn't perfect either. I don't know why, but the developers had a dumb idea of giving all the NPCs accents. Sure, this isn't too bad with voice acting, but reading it just gives me a headache. It's unneeded. Luckily, it is a minor issue with the DS version, but still, it takes away those valuable points for first place. Now, the plot, storylines, and quests are very good, and the main antagonist sort of has a presence throughout the game. The game could also add replay with different party setups for the final chapter. Overall, this is a great game and one of the top JRPGs in my opinion. Only 2 left, people, and people may argue that my first and second choices should be swapped, but I know Tension1913 would agree with me on this choice. My number 2 pick in the series is Dragon Quest VIII for the PlayStation 2. Yes, this is an amazing game, this amazing game did come in second place. I probably would rate this game as a 99.999 repeating. That is why it's so high up there, and this is why it's like so close to the next to the number one game in the series. I don't believe that there is anything bad to say about this game, so let's just talk about all the good things. This game is the first in the series to have a 3D world. It may be a bit disorienting at first for us 2D overhead view people, but it's not that much of a problem. The graphics and music are very good. This game also is the first and only to incorporate voice acting, and the voice acting is actually very good, unlike that game Mega Man X7. One thing I like about the voice acting is that I could be lazy and not read the dialogue, because dialogue pretty much just puts me, reading pretty much puts me to sleep. Another interesting graphical quirk is certain equipment changes a character's appearance. This mainly applies to the only female, probably as a way to boost sales, of course. I do like this idea, and I think it's cool to see what the equipment and weapons look like on the characters. Dragon Quest IX actually does this, which I think is nice. We come across a total of 4 playable characters in the game, including our hero, so we don't really have to worry about character swapping. Each character has a personality and backstory, and they all contribute to the plot. There is no class system in this game, and it may sort of be tough to distinguish what the character's main classes are. Instead, every time a character levels up, they acquire skill points which they can distribute into their own unique skills. At certain levels, characters will learn new abilities. Though I miss the class system, this system is a good substitute and could add replay because it is quite hard to maximize all categories, or even at least 2 categories. So each time you play a game, you could just like each time you start a new game, you could just do different character setups or allocate points differently. Now the system is simple and easy to use compared to Dragon Quest IX's version, where the skill points are dependent on the classes. Once again, kind of makes it hard for us to set up our characters efficiently in Dragon Quest IX. Back to Dragon Quest VIII though. Part of the way through the game, we do lose a character for a while, but they do rejoin us eventually. This may bother people because now we are down to 3 fighting characters. Luckily, the character that left returns to us. Another interesting side part of the game is that we can recruit monsters into teams of 3. These monsters are special fixed encounter monsters scattered across the world. I believe we can call upon them to help us out in battle for a short time, but it's been a while since I played. The main use though is in the monster arena, where they contend for ranks and prizes. Just let me say, the final match is no pushover. I did do a video of me winning the final battle with the most optimal team. Another new and very useful feature in the game is being able to alchemy items. Alchemy involves taking 2 or 3 items, throwing them into the alchemy pot and waiting 7 minutes. After 7 minutes, a new item comes out, which may be a hybrid of the original 2 items. Nevertheless, the new item is usually far superior compared to the other items that you could purchase and find in the area. Alchemy can be time consuming and expensive because you don't really want to be selling your standard equipment. Additionally, some alchemy items can be alchemy again and again to make even more superior and rare items. A true alchemist will have their party equipped with all the alchemic equipment. The also thing about alchemy is that it's simple. 3 items and that's it. Not 10 like we see in Dragon Quest IX. Finally, the game is pretty linear. You can only visit areas pretty much open up after quests are completed and such. Finally, the game has a really amazing plot and storyline as well as quests. The scenery is amazing. The battles can be challenging, especially the bosses. And trust me, that first major boss is tough. And especially if you don't have multi-heal. I was actually able to beat him though, and I think Kenshin 1913 did as well, without the multi-heal spell, and because I challenged him, of course. And this game is just great, and I can't wait to play it again. Finally, we have the best game in the series, and my favorite RPG of all time. The #1 Dragon Quest game is Dragon Quest V for the Super Nintendo. This game was the first game to be on the Super Nintendo, of course. Graphics weren't as great as Dragon Quest VI, but you can't really bash the game because of that. This game featured new mechanics that made operating the game better. The door command is gone once again, but we don't need it anymore. Now we can just walk through the doors without having to go into the menu every time. I don't know why they couldn't have incorporated this into previous games, because Final Fantasy was doing this from the beginning. In addition to the revamped door command, the inventory has also been revamped. Now the player gets an infinite pouch, allowing them to store as many items as possible. Characters also have an inventory screen, which is also important because only items in the character's inventory may be used during battle. There is no return spell for the early portion of the game. I believe the winner of the Wyvern actually transports you to the last place you saved or visited. Part of the way through the game, you actually do go on a quest which leads you into learning the real return spell, which lets you return to any city of your choosing. The game doesn't have a class system, but instead the game introduces a new mechanic only unique to this game. Players can recruit monsters to use in their parties. I think most of the monsters are recruitable. Each monster is unique in their own way, with fighting styles, defense, spells, and abilities. Monsters are not easy to recruit though. Your character has to be at a certain level to recruit each monster. Once they are at the level, they have a % chance of recruiting the monster. The more battles that you fight with that monster type, the more likely the monster will join your party. Also, the monster has to be the last enemy you actually killed. Monsters that are recruited don't initially follow your commands though. Either the monster or your character has to achieve a certain level in a stat before gaining full control over the monster. The monster recruiting system is quite interesting and does add replay value, of course, because you do different setups. In addition to the monsters, we also get humans to join our party throughout the game. Human companions can either be temporary or permanent companions, or come and go and come again, or be like come and go and come again characters. Like they leave, they come, they leave, and they come again. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not as bad as Dragon Quest VII because the temporary characters, temporary characters and the coming and going characters is how the game progresses and how the plotline works. So I do approve of this for Dragon Quest V. Dragon Quest V also has sort of a character system, has sort of a chapter system similar to Dragon Warrior IV. I wouldn't necessarily call it a chapter system, but instead the game is broken up into 3 parts. The first part is when the main character is a little child, the second part is when he is an adult, and the final part is when he becomes a father. I really like how the plot progresses this way. Additionally, we get to have a wife. In the Super Nintendo version, we only had 2 choices, while the DS version adds a third possible choice. Each of the 3 ladies has their own unique abilities. I believe on one end there is a melee character, on the other end is a pure mage, and in the middle is a hybrid of both. I really like this because it also adds replay value and lets the plot and leads the plot toward having children. Now you may be wondering, how do we play as babies? Well, you will just have to play the game to see what happens. The game flows quite well, and it's probably the most linear game in the series, and probably the most linear RPG that I know of. There really isn't many places for free roam in the game. Sure, at some points you get a ship, but it only allows you restricted access to certain areas. The player doesn't really have to worry about searching the ends of the world for stupid crests and figuring out where to go next. In addition, the plot continues, moving the characters and giving the characters hints to which direction to go. I feel the game is very balanced in my opinion. You have to do some grinding early in the game, but after you reach the right level, once you reach the right level, then you just play through the game with little to no grinding. I've actually beaten the game at level 3, which might be one of the lowest level runs in my opinion. And trust me though, the final boss is tough on those low levels. The plot, quest, and story of the game are very good and very moving. It just makes the player want to keep on playing. To wrap this up, Dragon Quest V is an amazing game in every possible aspect. This game could possibly be in the top 3 for JRPGs with Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger. This game may even be better than both those games. Well, I have to say that is it for my review of my favorite video game series of all time and my favorite video game of all time. I hope all of you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. This has been BrianD0313's saying see ya and have a good day.